All right, because of situations just like that one, the Michigan State Police are taking a special interest in online sexual predators. They're launching what's called the Opening Door campaign to draw attention to grooming and sextortion on social media. They're also encouraging parents to be aware of the signs and talk to their children about the dangers. I caught up with Colonel James Grady to learn more about the program.
Social media, the internet, it can be a really scary place, especially for parents, those with little ones. Can you tell me a little bit about the campaign?
Absolutely. So this campaign is about, providing some new public awareness that will hopefully to teach parents how to safely navigate through the digital world. As a parent myself, kids, they utilize their cell phones, their own computers, they're utilizing social media. They, of course, are playing video games, so you have that platform available as well. So it's so important for parents to have their education so that they have the situational awareness. I'm a parent myself of four, and you have to be engaged and you have to have the communication with your children so that they don't become victims, because there are tons of predators out there. Actually, there are tens of thousands of predators that are online looking to exploit children. And I'm a firm believer that once a child's innocence is lost, it's very difficult to replace. So educating the parent and the child is really the best way to defend against online predators.
It's so difficult because what we've seen is this is growing, and sadly in so many areas, is some of these predators on these apps will engage with these children and pretend to be the same age as these children. The manipulation tactics are so scary. What can parents do to not only how can they speak to their kids, but not completely block them from playing these games and being with their friends? Because you can't just take their phone away. You can't just stop them from being on the internet. It's here. It's been here.
Again, education. Uh, you know, the parent has to be, educated. They should become comfortable in talking with their children about the dangers of utilizing the internet and how to protect themselves. They have to be engaged and have a situational awareness. I think that it's so important to have some rules, right? Parents can regulate some of that by going to the settings portions on the phone, on the games and things like that, and changing the settings. So the more educated you are, the more informed you are as a parent, you can help to prevent some of these things from happening with your own child, some of the dangers that are out there by the predators, because they are looking at every opportunity and every platform that they can utilize to victimize your child and your family. So education, again, is the key. And that's why we have these Opening the Door campaign right now that we're going to run through December 2025 this year. This is another way that, a lot of times law enforcement, we're looked at as being an agency that goes out and arrests people. In these situations, some people need to be arrested or just writing tickets, but we also have a role and responsibility to educate as well. And so that's what we're doing here with this Opening the Door campaign, is making sure that we educate people about internet crimes. We have the Michigan Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force here at the Michigan State Police, but we are working with our federal and local partners, our prosecutors across the state, to again ensure the safety of our youth, the families here in Michigan, that, if they want to utilize the internet, they can do it safely. But for those that become victims, we're going to find a way to address that through our investigative work, and then make sure that we move forward with prosecution. And so it really does take everybody working together. That's why we keep pushing. If you see something, say something. The okay to say in schools. School children just went back and started school here a couple weeks ago. So we need to get the education out there. They need to know that the Michigan State Police, we have a website you can go to as well to retrieve information on how to protect you and your family. so that you don't become victims of any type of internet crime. So you just have to, the education is important and you have to stay engaged. I know when my kids were younger and they played video games, especially online, I used to ear hustle a little bit, pay attention to what was being said.
Age of your kids, for example.
Pardon?
What are the ages of your kids?
Oh, they're all young adults now.
So,
But
but at the time, I mean, maybe someone has a 4-year-old or a 7-year-old. That's a lot different than talking to maybe a 15, 16-year-old. So you're talking about boundaries. How do you talk to maybe your 7-year-old and maybe your 15-year-old? Because the 15-year-old doesn't want to hear it, and the 7-year-old maybe doesn't understand as well.
well, a younger child, you still have to make them aware. You still have to have the conversation. You are right. When they get to be teenagers, things change. I always like to say little kids, smaller problems, bigger kids, normally bigger or more challenging issues that you have to deal with and address. But either way, the communication is key, right? As a parent, we have a role and responsibility to sit down and lay the foundation and the rules for our youth in our home. I did as a dad, and my wife was in lockstep with me, right? We were one team doing it together because kids like to divide and conquer if they can.
If dad says no, let's go to mom. If mom says no, let's go to dad. If they both
Absolutely,
say no, let's go to grandma.
absolutely. But no, we were one united front. We both remain as much as we can with children. It does get tougher when they get to be teenagers because they're walking away from you with their cell phones and God knows what their friends or what their peers are telling them, hey, look at this, look at that. But again, when you lay down the foundation when they're youth and they know what the rules are and what the expectations are, it definitely does help. And, as a parent, you have a responsibility to teach them the difference between right and wrong. And so you do your best as a parent because there's no perfect way to parent, right? They don't come out with a manual telling you exactly what to do, and every child is different. I've seen it, I got 4 of my own. But you do your best. And again, communication is key, education is key, situational awareness is key.
And I know you're really, really pushing this education. So what are some of the biggest indicators that something is wrong, that maybe someone's child or maybe someone's friend is talking to someone they should not be talking to?
You might see some differences in behavior. That's why it's so important to pay attention to your children. Parents know their kids after a while, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're raising them since day one, and you know that that's your role and responsibility. So if you're paying attention and you have to, again, establishing communication, from the time they're 1 or 2, when they're toddlers, when they start to talk, it's so important to do that. But I think you just have to, again, just remain engaged at all times, just paying attention to their behaviors, what's changed about them. They might be real snappy, become rude. You might see some depression start to set in. And if those things are happening, then, you need to pay attention and say, hey, let's sit down and talk. Again, each child is different. There's no perfect way to do it, but you have to do it.
Okay, I know it's a hard conversation to have, but like you said, they've got to do it.
Well, as you heard him say, these online predators can target the vulnerable, those children, and can be on any application. And you just got to pay attention to that behavior. So you can always report this type of thing to the state or a national tip line. You can do that at cybertipline.org or by calling 1-800-THE-LOST.